I'm going to be going over a modified version of my Armored Core 5 Heavy, which was a dual battle rifle heavy with a rifle and a pulse machine gun and stealth missiles. This time around, instead of the rifle, you have a power spec Gatling gun. And also, instead of the UBR that used to be there, there's a 3-burst battle rifle. The pulse machine gun and the Strakoza are still there. The Strakoza is still power spec'd, and it's used to get over the defenses of heavy bipedals. You can also use it against midweights and lightweights, light reverse joints. Originally, I had the Jessup in place of the old Lamport that I tried to use. I found the Gatling gun to be much more effective in terms of pretty much just damage. It also has higher muzzle velocity. I know some people would actually prefer to spec this Gatling gun accuracy instead of power like I do. And if you spec it accuracy, you get better muzzle velocity by like around 100 and you get better base lock. Instead of the stealth missiles that I used to run, I now run vertical missiles because nobody runs CWIS anymore. In Armored Core 5, around 90 to 80, around there, would run CWIS, and if you ran any other missile in the game, it would get hard countered. But now that I run vertical missiles, I can just stagger mechs. Like, you can stagger tanks, get their defenses to drop, so if they resist your Strakozas, you can hit them with it. You can also stagger midweights, so if they resist pulse machine guns, sometimes you can hit them effective with it as well. And there are certain mechs that you just randomly hit effective thanks to the explosion damage. The pulse machine gun and 3-burst battle rifle are also power spec'd. The pulse machine gun is there for lightweights and midweights, and tetrapods and heavy reverse joints. Most tetrapods will resist it, but you could opt out to not use the pulse machine gun and swap it for a pulse gun. The one with around 1300. I should probably show that to you. Most tetrapods are not going to resist this one. You actually can build a tetrapod that resists it and still resist a lot of KE weapons too. But yeah, instead of a pulse machine gun, if you're worried about tetrapods resisting the TE damage, you can go to a Kurosawa as well. The 3-burst is what I took out the UBR to use. Now the main advantage to using this over the UBR is base lock, because you get around half. 160, well actually no, 170 versus 185, yeah, pretty much half. The KE defense is just enough to stop Lamport from being effective. That's pretty much the last rifle I cared about. I've never cared about my heavy getting hit effective by Tanzis because Tanzis have some of the worst rate of fire in terms of rifles, to the point where even if they do hit you effective, the damage you'll be doing with the battle rifles versus most mechs that use Tanzis will just be greater. But yeah, in terms of the head, the legs, the core, the arms, it's pretty straightforward in the sense that the head is there because it has some of the best CE defense. Out of all the CE heads, the KE core is pretty much the one with the best KE defense out of the cores. The CE arms, you could actually switch those out. There's a few other arms you could use and still maintain most of the aspects. And you could actually get more KE defense and more CE defense with the legs that's right below the ones that I use. But if you do that, you'll lose turning performance. You'll also lose the recoil resistance, which with 1510 you don't get staggered by any of the shotguns in the game. You also resist the jellyfish stagger from the explosive force. And thanks to the CE defense, there's only one medium missile or CE missile that actually hits you effective. This is the last one in the bracket, the one with improved attack power. The Accurate is there for the enhanced, pretty much just the high missile lock-on. The range doesn't benefit you too much in the sense that battle rifles don't really have that great of muzzle velocity. So even with 250 range, they're probably not going to hit from there. In terms of the generator and booster, I'm running a balanced generator that used to be called the Procny before they gave it all these really generic names. Now, the name that's not really memorable. I will actually list all the parts in description though. I will be listing them by their names in game, not the Armored Core 5 names. That's just for reference. The booster I'm using used to be called the Defang, high power booster. You could run what used to be called the Buria, but you get less control with that and less, you get higher energy consumption too, which is why I don't run it. I really don't prefer to use it either. The recons are tracking type, that's the only one I run. That's the only one I consider viable. And for the other videos that I do on this, I won't really go over the recons because it's just going to be the same one over and over again. I guess to finish up, I'll show you what I was talking about in terms of shotguns and how none of them will stagger you. The absolute highest stagger a shotgun is going to get in this game, as of right now, is 1,494, and my heavy bipedal has 1,510 recoil resistance.